Hello, good evening, everyone. Um, so good to be here again today. Happy New Year to everyone, wherever you're watching from, you're listening from. It's super good to be here. Whenever I come on the show, I'm usually very excited, because uh, this is something amazing that we're trying to do here. And then just the mere fact that I have the floor to myself to speak about whatever I want to speak about, it's just so wonderful. So once again, happy New Year, everyone. Um, if you're watching, please just get on the chat. Just drop us a message, say hi. It'd be good to know where you're listening to from, where you're watching from. Yeah, so it's amazing. And just if this is your first time of tuning in, this is the Roadmap MBA show, and it's a platform created by Steve Pugh, who's our founder. And the goal is very simple. The goal is very simple. We are looking to bring business education, make business education accessible to 5 billion people. And that's the globe, really, to ensure that business education is accessible to people. And there is no better time than now to talk about accessibility of education, where schools are beginning to review their pricing upwards. Traditional schools are beginning to review their pricing upwards. There is a global crisis, which you can't blame them so much, really, because they've built up so much overheads, that they need to cover. And that's why a lot of work is going into this platform, this Roadmap MBA platform, where we can create, value for everyone and ensure that, the decision to learn is not hampered by finances or, accessibility, but by your decision. And just like Steve would usually say, the platform is created for people who have passion. You have passion, then you can access business education for free. And just so you know, we have a website, we have an app also, which is live, coming live. We have a website where you can start up a program immediately, start learning at your pace, no ads, no, what Steve usually calls no tricks. It's all what you see is what you get, right? And then you can start learning. And the good thing about this platform is that we're trying to build a community of value creators, right? Eventually, we will eventually become a very viable and interesting community. So get onto the website roadmapmba.com, get started, start learning, and then help us share this message across, because we're trying to get onto at least 5 billion people. And the mission is simple. We're on a mission to help people around the world build a better life for themselves, creating an accessible platform for all communities to thrive and celebrate together. In fact, I love to celebrate, because that's one of the things I like to do whenever I come on the platform. Celebrate life, celebrate freedom. I'm so free on the show. I'm able to discuss whatever it is that makes me think, or whatever has made me happy, or even made me sad within the last week or two. And interestingly, this is my first time on the show this year. So it's even more, I'm more excited. I've been eager to come on the show. I think that my last show was sometime in November, towards the end of November, if that's correct. So I've really missed the show, and I'm sure a number of you must have missed us having this conversation as well. So let's enjoy the next few minutes where we'll just discuss and kind of enjoy ourselves and share ideas, because that's what the world is all about, right? So having said that, today we'll be discussing, reflecting really on what I call business model innovation, right? Business model innovation. But before we delve into this, I'll just, kind of, and that's usually my or our convention here is to, kind of share what we've been up to within the last period since the last time we were on the show, till this time. So like I said, it's been over a month plus, going to 2 months I've been on the show because of the Christmas break, and we had to break up for the Christmas period. And within that time, I've read 2 books, which is interesting. In fact, I've started, try to start keeping up to that. It's always been the goal or the plan, but it's usually in the execution. But I think within the holidays, I was able to get myself to read 2 books. I read The Mom's Test. It's a must read for every person who wants to set up a business. Kind of helps you, teaches you how to go about validating your idea, just so that you're not solving the wrong problem, right? And then you're not asking the wrong people about validation for your problem, right? I first heard about that book during my MBA when I was applying to the Newcastle University startup. I had an idea and they recommended that I read the book. Then I didn't read it then, honestly. I just, skimmed it through. But now I've read that book and it's a must read. So if you're there, I'm recommending the book Mom's Test, Mom, M-O-M-S, Mom's Test. It's a very good book as well. And then the second book I read was Lean B2B. It's another wonderful book for anybody who wants to set up a B2B business, right? It was written by Etienne Gabugli, a very wonderful writer, easy to understand, nice use cases. Basically, trying to elaborate on what it is to run a B2B business, what you should be looking out for before you start, the kinds of, even how to validate your business idea as well, up onto the point where, you start getting customers and selling to companies and stuff like that. So these are 2 beautiful books I've read, but at the moment I'm also reading another one called The Platform Revolution. That's it. The Platform Revolution was written by Geoffrey Parker, Marshall Van Alstyne, and Sangeet Paul Chaudhry. It's another beautiful book if you want to do a business on any digital platform business. You need to read this book. And I dare say that the inspiration about the business model innovation probably has come from here. So what we like to do is to let you know where our ideas come from. Ideas can come from anywhere. So I think the idea to reflect on business models actually came from reading this book. I'm still reading it anyway. And thanks to Vladimir Bendiko, my boss in the office, who gave me this book. Thank you. So the next thing was, of course, within this period, there's been, if you followed well, you know that I'm Nigerian, and we've followed within this period. I've followed very closely what events happening back home. We're having a general election next month, and it's a very topical one for us. So it's been heating up. Just today, one of the candidates of the election, of the presidential election, was at the Chatham House in London, delivering a lecture. So again, this has been part of what has been taking. If you follow me on Facebook, you will see a lot of posts I've put out there on the Nigerian election. And then I've written a number of articles as well. I think one of the themes that has followed me into the new year is accountability. And I think there is really no better time than now to think about accountability, because of it's a new year. It's we're trying to reset. So I wrote an article on LinkedIn. You can check my LinkedIn. Talked about ditching the victim mentality. Which means you have to start being accountable for yourself. And then finally, I started the gym. I was just telling Steve when I came in here today that in Newcastle or in Britain, in the UK, we usually have the word we call, when we say I'm knackered. totally broken because I started the gym recently, and when you've not been to the gym, I've not been to the gym for more than 2, 3, 4 years, honestly. And then I just started, I've had about 3, 4 sessions now, and all my bones are totally broken. My muscles are just trying to get used to it and stuff like that. So that has been my last 2 months. It's been really eventful, and I've really enjoyed the start to the year, to be honest. Done a lot of reflection about the new year, kind of put out a number of activities that I want to do, around my family, around spiritual life, around my career, around my well-being. Of course, well-being, I started the gym, and a lot of other things, and stuff like that. So what have you been up to within the last 2, 3, 4 weeks? Please pop in on the chat and let us know what you've been up to. We can have a quick conversation around what you've been up to. Is there something new you've learned? Please let us know, because this is a platform where we keep learning and sharing. That's the only way we can make progress as we go on. Okay, so let's delve into this quickly. Business model innovation, and just a few things we'll be looking at. We'll be looking at what's a business model, really. What's a business model? And we'll also be looking at how can I articulate my business model? If I want to start a business today, how can I articulate a business model? Where do I start from? There's this usual confusion that you have an idea in your head and you usually don't know where to start from. You don't know if it's to go get money first, or if it is to go start building the product, or if it's to people don't usually know what to do. So we'll be discussing how can I articulate my business model, and then we would delve a little bit into types of business models. But within that, there are 2 business models I will spend a little bit more time into as we go down. But in all of it, let's just see how we can learn a thing or two, or collaborate and share experiences, share ideas, there. Yeah. I'm seeing the chats. Good luck with the gym. Thank you. Thank you very much. Eventually we would love to have presenters. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, always great to share experiences. Yeah, thanks, Steve. Good to always read from you. As usual, Steve made me coffee. Yeah, so I would always point out, I usually like to be grateful to anything I get. Okay, so what's a business model? Let's look at that, and without looking at any definition or any dictionary, encyclopedia, or the new guy in the blog, ChatGPT, without going there, or maybe Sparrow is coming up, guys. Without looking at any of those, what's business model? What's the business model? In my own understanding or in my own experience, a business model is simply how a business or how a company, arranges its business in a way that it can create and capture and deliver value, right? It's just a way a business structures. How do you structure your thoughts so that you can go from thoughts to value? Simple. How do you structure your business in a way that you can go from a mere idea to creating value that impacts bottom line? Simple. So however you do that becomes your own unique value proposition, if you will, becomes your own unique strategy. So when you talk business model, you talk value proposition, you talk strategy, they're all interwoven, because at some point your business model is your plan, which is also your strategy. You really need to know. I think the best way to put it is, in a competitive environment, everyone needs to look for the best way to maneuver the market. In fact, when I was studying the origins of strategy, right? It comes from a word, I think, when it came down, the whole translations and all that, you begin to see things around maneuver. How do you maneuver the other? 10 people doing the same thing. How can I structure in a way that I'm able to maneuver the others and do better than them? A Formula One race, for instance, how do I ensure that everybody's driving similar, kinds of cars? How do I ensure that I stay ahead of everyone, right? That's one of the key things, the reasons around a business model. So your business model is a plan, simple. It's a plan on how a company will generate revenue and make profits. Always remember that revenue is not profit. I was reading something, so a friend of mine on Facebook posted something yesterday to say, this morning actually, always remember your revenue is not your profit. You could be running a business that turns over $1 billion in a year, and yet you're not profitable, right? So your business model will only be effective if it can help you generate revenue and make profit. In some people will call it what they call a blueprint. We hear that word a lot from politicians. Oh, I have a blueprint to take this country from point A to B. In fact, I'm very conversant with that now, because in my country, we're doing elections, we're preparing for elections, and it's heating up. Everyone has the blueprint. Everyone. They've always had the blueprints anyway, but really has never, we've not got out of where we were or where we are. So it's your business model is your blueprint that helps that a company uses to create, deliver, and capture value. So everything around your business model must keep wreaking value. If value is not seen around everything in your business model, then you must be thinking about it, right? Everything around your business model must be shouting value. Because you really don't want to be in a business where you're not creating value. Or if that's the case, you know what happens? You only get first-time buyers and nobody comes back. It's the value in your business that ensures that you have a repeat purchase, and that you're sure you have people who will help you to sing and share the goodness of your products or your services. And then you can create, and that's the value, because when people see value, let's use value. People are able to use something, and then they see the value in it. Then they can come back. They can refer others. That's what we call there is a calculation we use for that. Is that the Net Promoter Score, isn't it? Yeah, Net Promoter Score. That's the ability to refer people to the product, right? We usually use it in customer experience. How well are you going to refer someone to? And usually, to be honest, I'm usually very honest with any product I use. If I don't like the product, if it's crap, I will tell them straight up, I'm not referring anyone to the product. So, but that's the goal, really. That's the goal of a business model. And so what we're doing today in business model innovation is to say, in this time of high-moving, high-flying innovations, how can we continue to be agile in the structuring of our businesses in a way that we are not left behind, right? Just at the turn of this year alone, in fact, there has been a projection now that 2023 is the year that we go closer to singularity. You know what singularity is? It's, when the computer will be behaving like humans, completely, like, equal, right? And, we've always had artificial intelligence, but we've had cases to say, oh, artificial intelligence has not been, there is no empathy, there is no communication. So conversational AI just became, jumped almost 10 times at the turn of the year, because what do you call Chat GPT? You go in there and I say, how are you, Chat GPT? And it tells me I'm a tool, I don't have emotions. It tells me that. It's conversing with me. It's telling me I can do a lot for you, but please don't mistake me for human anyways, because I don't have emotions, right? But we've really gone to that level where, we're very close to singularity. And the point is, how can we continue to structure our businesses? So you want to go into a new business, you're already running a business. How can you stay constantly above the curve and ensuring that in this innovative era, in this internet era, in this fourth industrial revolution, how can you continue to be agile in your value creation, in your value capture, right? And so that's the thinking. We may not be able to give you the answers completely here, but it's just to set you in that thinking process to say, where did my business start from 5 years ago? Am I still there on the same model, right? Is there a better way for me to capture the value within my business, my business proposition? In the value chain of my business, where are the areas I'm playing in? Are there attractive adjacencies within the value chain that I can grow into based on my expertise within a part of the value chain, right? Are there areas I can scale because of the economies of scale in another area? These are the kind of thinking processes that we want people to begin to think about. And don't be stuck in the ways of your businesses. Is my current business idea or business model still relevant in this time? Now, let me tell you what 2023 is going to see. We're going to see an explosion of technology and adoption. Now, the ChatGPT got up to 1 million users within 5 days. 5 days. 5 days. I'm among the 1 million users because I got in. In fact, I think at some point they had to stop because they said they couldn't take more. They needed to upgrade the platforms and all that. But we were able to get in. So there's going to be an explosion, an exponential adoption of technology in this year. Where we started 2023 from won't be definitely where we will end it. Are you ready for that shift? A lot can happen within this year. Are you ready for that business model agility, business model innovation? So for instance, you are starting a new business. You want to say, okay, how do I capture my business model? There is something called the business model canvas. Business model canvas. I think it was, what's his name, Osterwater or something. I can't remember his exact name, but who formulated this template. But it's a simple template that you can actually use to capture your ideas. And I think this is one of the most innovative things that came out, in value or that impacts startups. Because you really don't need to be confused again as to where do I start? This is a very good place to start. And there are templates everywhere. You can go online, just Google business model canvas. You'll get an editable template to use. And it consists of usually 9 key areas. There's a part where you talk about the value proposition. Of course, before you start the business, you want to know, what am I bringing? What problem am I solving? Right? That's your value proposition. And how is it different from others? Then it becomes unique. So usually everybody should have a unique value proposition. For instance, roadmap. Why is roadmap different? Why is roadmap different? One, it is free, accessible. You don't have to, and there are no surprises, there are no ads, there are no, compared to the competitors, it's free, it's affordable, right? And then there is the part where you get the support. And then you can tailor your study or your needs. So, and that's the beauty of roadmap, for instance. You come into roadmap, you feel at the moment, you're having problems. Maybe you're a businessman, you have a business, you have a company, a startup or an established company, and your sales are not doing well. You want targeted information, targeted studies, targeted support on your sales. What other business schools won't do for you, because you will be forced to do a 12-month program or something that may not even, in fact, during my MBA, a few of my colleagues were always complaining that why were they asked to write essays and, quote, research and do a lot of citations and all that, when they knew they were never going to do that in the business world, right? But again, it was part of the curriculum, and you don't blame the universities, because that's the curriculum. That's the curriculum. But for a company like Roadmap MBA, you come in, you want to get targeted information on sales, you go straight to the module on sales. And the good thing, and this is just giving you a tip of the iceberg, the good thing about the program is that beyond just going to the content on sales, you have access to experts within the sales, area, and you can attend their live classes, their live streams, and attend their classes as well. And then you have opportunities to ask your questions directly and get solutions. So you could even just spend the next 1 month alone on sales, and after that, you step out, go and apply the knowledge, get your turnover, get your monies, and then come back again. Maybe you decide you want to do finance. So you could take your time at your pace with constant hand-holding. And that's the beauty, and that's the unique value proposition of a company like Roadmap. So I think that already explains value proposition. So if you're going into a business, you must be able to articulate, what's your value proposition? What am I doing to solve the problems? And how am I doing it differently from others? Roadmap is bringing business education, but differently is that it's bringing it to 5 billion people, free, accessible, right? With a roadmap that ensures that you can do different things depending on the market dynamics or your need analysis at the moment, and then come back to it with adequate hand-holding and support. That's the unique value proposition. And then the next thing you want to do in identifying your business model is to say, what are my customer segments? I think one of the things that has made businesses fail, there's a huge percentage of businesses, startups fail within the first 2-3 years. And in my understanding, and most of my engagements with startups and some of the consulting work I've done, is that most times startups want to play global at the beginning, or they want to solve problems of a huge customer base or customer segmentation. So you want to solve for the Gen Zs, the Gen Alpha, all the gens. You want to solve for all the demographics at the same time. And what that does is that most times it makes you not to be, not to have a unique value proposition. So you have value propositions for everybody, and then you no longer are able to prioritize and focus, which is one of the key problems of startups. So you must have a customer segment that you want to work on, right? The specific groups of people that the business will target are your customers. And then how do you get to them? Channels. And when you're thinking about these things, that is when maybe the business model begins to really structure to say, do I want to run a traditional business, right? Where I have a product, I control all the factors of production, or do I want to run maybe a platform business, a digital business? Or do I want to run a franchise? So these are types of business models which we will talk about later. So, and when you understand the channels you want to, how do I get to the customer? I've identified the customer segment. How do I get to them? How do I get to them? Through the internet, social media, emails, direct marketing, referrals, seminars. It's at that point that you begin to pour down all you have in your head. Put it down there. And then the next thing is your customer relationships. What kind of relationships do you need to be able to foster this, your business? Are you going to be using most of your, more or less your direct contacts? Are you going to, get maybe influencers or something? But again, you need to begin to think about, how do I reach them more? How do I scale? How do I reach more people? How do I build that relationship? And then you want to, this is a very important one, your revenue streams. At the beginning of every business, you need to be able to articulate, how is this business going to be sustainable? And, one of the key things you will always learn in any business school, of which this is a business platform, is that the essence of business is profit. There could be other things that goes with it. You have to, of course, be profitable to even begin to think about doing many other things for the environment, for sustainability, carbon and all that. But you must be focused on what? On profitability. And if you don't have revenue, you can't be profitable. So you need to understand what are the streams, what are the areas that revenue will come to me? And then you need to decide who are the key partners. Who is going to help me get to that goal? You need to identify them. And then you need to identify, what are the key activities? What are the things we're going to be doing? Okay, we're going to have a production line where we would produce manufacture the product. We're going to have a sales team. We're going to have a finance team. And then we're going to have this. What are the core activities? You may want to break those down as well. The core activities you need to get off the ground, and then the secondary activities you need to do. And it's in these activities as well could lead you to say, I don't want to own all the factors of production here. I don't want to own all the areas. I don't want to have run an inside business. I want to only manage this because this is where my core expertise is, and then I'll outsource the others. Or I could now begin to say, based on the activities that I've listed, I don't have expertise here. Can we begin to build partnership with people who have them? And then we focus on the ones we have expertise. So these are the kind of conversations that this business model canvas helps you to, to illuminate, to bring out, because you see them clearly. And then the last one is your cost structure. So what are the kind of things that I'll be expending money in to know how much do I even need to kick this business off the ground, right? So let's look at types of business models. So we've talked about what is a business model and why you should have a business model, because, and we said why you should have a business model is because you need to be able to understand how you structure, to be able to create value and sustain it. Because you don't want to create a one-off business or a one-off, season. You want to be able to sustain your value creation, within a business. And now we're looking at what are the types of business models that we have out there. The most and the first kind of business model is what you usually will call the product or service. Usually we call this as well the traditional business model. Here, and this is when when we were growing up, most especially in the industrial age, in the industrial era, most companies would usually have a product or a service. You look at the people who made all the monies, the German companies, German vehicle companies in the past, most of them had a product. So usually this kind of business model means that so you kind of control the factors of production. You have the manufacturing, you own the sales, you own the everything, you have everything with that, and then you have a tangible product. Sometimes if it's a product or if it's a service, you have something that comes out at the end as a service, but you own everything in there, right? And then you make your money from usually within this kind of products, within this kind of business model, you make your money from horizontal or vertical expansion. So if you may decide, okay, you have a factory or you're a manufacturer, you could decide you want to have more factories, replicate them, or you want to increase your sales, your sales capacity to go, so you're either growing horizontally or vertically. But at the end of the day, you own almost everything within the line of production, right? And that's the traditional way. Usually very, very capital intensive. Established businesses within these areas are established markets here are usually hard to break into because they control most of the things and then they control the market. So it's more or less what we call a supply side business because they control the product. You can control how many products you make and stuff like that. So this is more or less the traditional, and it was more available or more trendy. It's still there anyways, but it was more trendy as a means of making money and doing good business, being profitable in business. It was more trendy in the industrial era. There is another kind of business model called the subscription-based model, right? Subscription-based. Subscription. I can't spell this anymore. Okay. Subscription. Yeah. So with the subscription-based model, we're talking about, having a business that allows users or allows customers to subscribe, to pay a certain amount on a regular basis. And most times we see this kind of service around more like software as a service kind of products, right? Where, you have a company like, for instance, Microsoft packages, right? You have or Google Drive. You have you subscribe to storage, right? You pay on a regular basis to use that service. You're subscribing to it. The day you stop using it, you stop getting access to it, right? Music streaming, Spotify, you pay on a regular basis to access them. So most of these ones are more of software as a service, but this is a model. This is a model. And these are the kinds of things you want to be asking yourself. The kind of product I want to bring to the market or the kind of service I want to bring to the market, what is the optimal model that will ensure that I not only create value, but I continue to create and deliver value, right? And this, so once you've been able to outline those in your business model canvas, you need to now begin to ask yourself, what is the optimal model? Do I want to have exclusivity of this product and just have people subscribe to it? Or if my product is a tangible, do I want to manage everything around the factors of production? If it's a kind of a niche kind of product that you don't want people, it depends on what you're giving out or what product you have. And then another business model we have is what we call the freemium. Freemium. So this is actually from free plus premium. So you have this here, freemium. Now the freemium business model usually is a very interesting one because, again, depends on what you're trying to do in your business. You may want to consider this, where the basic product or the baseline product is free. And then you want to build some kind of graduation beyond the free product, and then, get more people can graduate from the freemium. But again, these are things that you need to do. If you add additional features to the baseline one, you can begin to have more there. So again, this is also another model that is used by most of these software companies as well. So for instance, you can use Spotify all through your life without paying a cover, right? You could use Duolingo. I think it was 90 or 95% of the users on Duolingo are free. But again, you need to ask yourself really, what kind of service do you have? What kind of product are you building? What kind of product are you building? Could this be a good model for you? Most companies who need a huge network, who want to build a huge network, want to build a platform, usually would run on this, because you want to bring in a lot of people into the community and then begin to harness that community, create positive effects within the community, and then you begin to see the benefits of the community, right? And then the next, another business model which is quite interesting, that has been very topical recently, is the one we call the sharing economy. Sharing economy. And once you, sorry, excuse me. Once you talk about sharing economy, everybody's mind goes to Uber, Airbnb, rideshare, and all of them. This is a more recent business model, and that's why we keep talking about business model innovation. In about 50 years ago, this would never have been possible, right? But because we now live in a freer world where we can trust people at the first meeting, we can talk about the sharing economy. So, and this was actually thought about by someone thought about it and say, how can I begin to, how can I think it was Airbnb actually started somewhere in the US, where a set of people were talking about how, I think they were going for a conference. And they were thinking about how do they kind of share spaces with people who are already in the location where they were going for the conference. And how do they do that and create it for everyone coming into the conference? So if we're coming to do a conference in Newcastle, people that are in Newcastle, who are attending the conference from Newcastle, who had spare bedrooms or spare rooms to give out, could, house people who are coming from the US, for instance. And because they had things in common, they could have common conversations in the morning, having coffee and discussing about the day's activities in the conference. And then they'll pay, for the extra rooms and stuff like that. That was how it all started. And it got to a point when they felt, okay, how do we even make this a little? And they started doing it for conferences. And from conferences, they said, no, there's a bigger market here. And today we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar business, right? So that's the sharing economy. And in looking at this, it's not just looking at sharing Airbnb, Uber. This model can actually be applied in many other areas of our lives. Many other areas. It's just about applying these principles into where you're trying to do your business to see which kinds of this model applies to your own business, right? And then the next one, which I want to talk about, is the franchise business model. Franchise. Back home in Nigeria, I don't know if that brand existed elsewhere, but back home in Nigeria, we used to know of a big brand called Mr. Biggs. And Mr. Biggs, you could have, and I'm going to talk about this franchise and talk about what I consider the benefits and the disbenefits, right? The demerits. So we used to have Mr. Biggs all around, but you could go to a Mr. Biggs in one location, and the kind of meal you have is like kind of a fast food location. The kind of meals you have were not consistent with the kind of meal you have in another location. And it took me some time to really understand that what this company was doing then was they had a big brand, a huge brand. And this franchise business usually works when you've created a huge brand. It's usually called the brand effect. You've created a huge brand for yourself, right? And then you need to leverage that brand. You need to scale leveraging your brand while reducing the risk of multiplying, of scaling. So it's usually for businesses that want to scale, but they also want to reduce the risk. But again, it's kind of counterproductive because risk depends, while you're trying to reduce the risk, the financial risk of scaling, you may be taking up brand risk, which is even more expensive. So usually why I said the demerits is that you could have a business and you have a big brand. Now all you do is to give people franchises to say, okay, go and open another location or outlet of my business with my name, but you run it as your business and then you pay me some royalties or whatever, right? And that's the whole franchise thing. But the problem is usually in the quality assurance. How do you ensure that you maintain the quality of the service and the product, and then the customer experience? Because the franchise business could actually impact the brand itself, and then it could lead to the business running out, right? Yeah. Airbnb started with airbeds. Thank you very much. That's correct. Airbeds and breakfast. I think that's actually what the Airbnb mean. Airbeds and breakfast, right? So franchise is good. You need to think about it, but again, it comes with its own risks, brand erosion, customer experience not being within regular or acceptable levels, right? But it could be very profitable to run a franchise business if you have a brand that everyone knows already, right? And then another one's almost similar to that is like the licensing business model. Licensing business model. So here is also similar to that, where you have a solution and then you grant licenses to people. A typical example is the CRM, for instance. So you have a lot of CRM solutions. Microsoft Dynamics, you have the Salesforce, you have Zoho, you have many of them, right? It's usually license-based. So the company would value the service per license and then give you licenses. So most times software as a service, they use this licensing model. At the end of the day, you need to find out what's the optimal way for my own business in all of these models, right? And then the final one, I'm going to talk about two last conversations I'm going to discuss here. And one is the platform business model. The platform business model. Now, this has been more like the revolution within our time. And it comes in different names. You can call it platform, you can call it aggregation, you can call it network, you can call it marketplace, right? Because that's what it simply is, right? And this is almost a direct opposite of the first business model I talked about, which is the product or service, right? Remember the first one, the product service, that is a kind of a traditional business model where you own the factors of production, right? You try to control them, which means you have to really have a lot of capital to do that, because you need to manage a lot of internal processes, right? But on the platform business is simply a kind of a digital platform or a digital marketplace that connects different networks of people, right? It could connect buyers and users. It could connect producers and their markets. It connects any kinds of people. It connects service providers and service users, right? And so it's quite the opposite of the product business model. In this model, and this model has evolved because we have now left the industrial era into what we call the internet era, or the fourth industrial revolution, or what you call that. But more or less, this has been triggered by the internet era. So everything is happening in the internet. So you can see from the 2000s when we started the dot-com boom and stuff like that, the Yahoos, you can see the trend, right? Yahoo came, and it came with a kind of a game changer. Google came and kicked it off, right? And then we've moved on from there, from one platform business to another. And if you look within the tech space today, in fact, there was a survey that I think it was Deloitte that did, and we're talking about different businesses and the kinds of and the kinds of valuation that they have today. One of the highest valuable companies in the world today, you talk about the Facebooks, the Microsofts, and all of them, they're all running platform businesses. So if you are someone who is thinking about business in this era, you may want to as well have a thought around platforms. And the interesting thing is that there are no areas that you cannot do this. Just think about anything. You can use a platform there. Just think about any area you want. And the good thing about platforms is that there is low marginal cost. When I talk about marginal cost, I think marginal cost is the cost the cost for bringing in an additional client or additional customer, right? With a platform business, let's take an example. If you have a product business model, to get a new customer, you have to advertise to the person. And then you have to create a new resource that would go after the person, do the production and everything. So you are almost creating another multiple of your business line to be able to get a new client. But with the digital or the platform business, most times platform businesses are digital, technology. With technology, it's marginal cost to scale. You could use the same platform to manage 100 people that you used to manage 500 people, right? All you just need to do is to keep upgrading the baseline infrastructure, which comes at a very marginal cost. And that's why we say it's marginal cost. It's actually nearing to zero. And that is the reason why platform businesses are the most profitable, because they are lean. They are lean, right? So even though they have offices, some of them have offices now and all that, but the core scaling of the business is bringing more customers and, getting value, creating value. So the core processes of creating value, sustaining value, capturing value, can be done at marginal cost. And that's so when you keep your two ways of making money in any business, we all know, increase your revenue, your production, increase your sales, or you do what? Reduce your cost. Two ways. Now, what these guys have done more in the platform business is to totally reduce cost to almost zero. Cost of acquiring a new customer, right? So that's how they make a lot of money in platform businesses. And you can apply the principles anywhere. and you scale quickly. You can imagine ChatGPT, for instance, came out and in 5 days, they've scaled to 1 million customers and more people queuing up, right? So if you find a good application of a platform, solving the key problems, because with this also comes some challenges, and I'll share with you. There are some challenges that come with the platform business. It means you're sitting in the place, you're creating a marketplace, a digital marketplace, right? Where you're saying, you who produces come, you who wants to buy come. Now there is still that underlying problem of trust, isn't it? Where the buyers and the sellers need to trust themselves to be able to transact. There's a privacy issues, there's a security issues that comes with digital, right? So if you're thinking about a platform business and you have some answers to trust, to privacy, to security, of course you can be solving trust with blockchain, for instance. So imagine the fusion of a blockchain technology, right, where you have smart contracts, you have your consensus, you have those principles. Imagine where you apply a blockchain technology and the principles into a platform business to solve trust. So the opportunities are endless. They're endless here with platforms. And like I said, they can be applied in every space. It's today working in transportation, Uber. It's working in the media, Facebook. It's working in kind of what you call e-commerce, the Alibabas, the Amazons. Is working in, I think it's just your imagination. Think about any sector, go into it, think about how do I create a platform that ensures that we reduce the factors, kind of democratize the factors of production, open up the space, and kind of democratize profit as well. Because what happens with platform business is that it's a win-win for everyone. The guy who has the market, who has the product, no longer has to do so much to get to the client who wants to buy it. He saves the monies he would have used to get customers. The guy who needs the product also gets the customers, and he probably gets them at a better rate. And everybody gets a better deal with the platform business. And then, with the platform business also comes the concepts of distributed workforce, gig economy. Now, just imagine a world where you create a product that leverages the gig economy, the distributed workforce, and the platform business. This is opening your minds to the possibilities available. And this is the future. The future of work is in distributed workforce. People can stay in Kenya and work in the UK. People can stay in Nigeria and work in the US. People want to wake up in the middle of the night and work. And that's why companies like Upwork is making a lot of money. They're ranked as one of the biggest because they create a marketplace for talent. But again, within those models, there are still some defects that can be improved using some of these models. So there's the opportunities are endless for us to be able to do stuff. I would have loved to. I think I've run out of time. I probably will take this other one in my next time because I want to really expound on it. But I'll just give you a hint of what it is. And then when we come at the next time, we'll reflect on it. You probably would have more questions, and then we can have an interaction. And it's something that I find very interesting. It's called the Igbo apprenticeship system. So it's a business model, and it's originated from my country, and is currently studied in Harvard. So you may want to check it up, but we will spend quality time to really reflect on it. In fact, before coming here today, I was watching a documentary on it. It's a revolution. It's a revolution, and it's something that we can learn a thing or two from the West on how we implement this. So just so that we don't spend so much time, we'll take this probably at our next reflection, and we'll see how it goes. But basically, what we have tried to do today is to look at business model innovation, right? And it's more or less to open your mind to how you look at your business, right? How is your business structured? The model you're using today, is it optimal? Is it the best that can help you reach more people? Is it the best that can help you scale the business, right? If you look through the conversations we've had today, I think it will open your mind to new thinking around how you position your business, to scale more and do more, right? So that has been it. I've totally enjoyed myself here today. That's my stock in trade, talking and sharing experiences, learning from you. Thank you very much. Yeah, great show. Clever people will always find new ways to innovate. Absolutely. So my friends, till the next time we see, continue to create value, continue to capture value, and continue to innovate. Thank you very much.